What's going on, everyone? It's another episode of the WVSports.com podcast. It is a victory episode as West Virginia knocks off Arizona 31-26. They hang on for the win out in the desert. It was Nico Markiel who led the Mountaineers to victory on offense. Garrett Green was unavailable. So was Wyatt Milam on the offensive line. Jaheim White was available, and luckily for the Mountaineers, he was, because C.J. Donaldson went down in the second half and did not return. Secondary struggled a little bit, to say the least. They allowed Arizona to kind of get back into things there late, especially. But Keenan, Mountaineers got a win that they needed. They needed it badly. Now they head into the bye week 4-4. Obviously, they don't want to be at 4-4, but they got the win on the road across the country with the backup quarterback. So I think that's a big checkbox checked if you're the Mountaineers.
Yeah, let's get that out of the way first. This is a good win for West Virginia. Any win's a good win for West Virginia right now. But, their backs were against the wall. We both picked them to lose this game just based off the current climate around the program. And the important thing to remember is, yes, Twitter and the message boards are fun, but none of that matters. The only thing that matters is, how the team is responding. And, I was impressed with the resiliency that this team showed. Neil Brown talked about, emptying the tank, for this week because they had a bye week next week. I thought you had great effort across the board. West Virginia won this game, and we're down a lot of players. I mean, a lot. That's not an excuse. Injuries happen, but I don't remember a time that West Virginia went on the road and beat a team with this many key players out. Neil said it, 3 of their 4 captains didn't even play in this game. They had issues. Yeah, they didn't even travel. They had guys that, were kind of filling in. They had injuries during the game. This is a beat up football team. And, you got to tip your hat to them. They showed a lot of guts going on the road. I know Arizona's had their own struggles, and that's a whole different story. But you got to win the games, and sometimes those can be difficult. You saw that tonight with Kansas almost knocking off Kansas State. Records don't matter. None of that stuff matters. The only thing that really matters is the game being played. And credit to West Virginia. I'm almost still a line from Neil Brown. Credit to them because I didn't think they'd do it. I really didn't. I think Nico Markiel played great for the most part. I think he made some mistakes in the run game with the reads, but that'll come with time. I thought he threw the ball pretty well. Had some really nice throws. What I was most impressed with today, though, it wasn't the fact that he was 18 for 22, for almost 200 yards and 2 touchdowns. It was the throws that he had to make in high leverage, high pressure situations. He made them. The 4th and 3 play at the goal line, really nice throw. Hudson Clement made a nice catch in the back of the end zone. The absolute dime piece that he dropped into Traylon Ray on the 54-yard touchdown, which now is the longest pass play for West Virginia this year. That element's been missing from the offense. I wrote about that earlier this week. They haven't had a lot of splash plays down the field. And, they didn't take a lot of shots in this game, but they took that one and they connected. It was a great throw. And then the throw he made to Jalen Anderson. Jalen Anderson, almost a forgotten piece of this thing. But
who would have thought that he's
great throw there. I thought he was going to bobble it, but he didn't. He made the catch and got the first down. So that's just 3 examples. But another play that he had, he threw the ball so hard that the safety or linebacker, I wasn't sure who it was, wasn't able to corral it on that first big third play and to Hudson Clement. That was another nice throw that he was able to get in there because they had a beat on that. And he threw it so hard it got through, and Clement once again showed concentration and made a nice catch. So, yeah, West Virginia played pretty well offensively for the most part. They controlled the line of scrimmage. They ran the ball. They didn't run the ball as much as you would expect. Did some different things. But still, you look at the end of the day, 200 yards. Can't complain with that. When Neil Brown hits 200 yards here, they usually win the football game. So I think that offensively, it was a good showing. Defensively, they stopped the run. They had issues with pass coverage again, but at this point, it kind of is what it is. I wrote about that. There are issues there. Teams are exploiting it, and West Virginia is just going to have to find a way to fix it. Some of that's personnel. I mean, let's be clear here. They've got some guys out, and they're playing guys that probably wouldn't be playing if the starters were healthy, but they got him 2 times. They got McMillan matched up down the field in cover 2 against a linebacker in the zone, and that's not a battle you're going to win very often if you can't get home with pressure. So I think that it is what it is at this stage. I'm not going to be a dead horse on it. It's an issue. We all know it's an issue, and teams are going to continue to go to it until West Virginia proves they can stop it.
Yeah, I'll start with Nico. I thought I was really impressed, and those big time throws he talked about, the one to Hudson that he kind of went across the middle there, that was at a big time spot because that was after Arizona scored, I believe, and then it was I think like third and long, and
Yeah, 3rd and
it was
9, I
after
think.
it was I think it was the first play of the fourth quarter, and it was like the crowd was getting into it. You were like, okay, is this where the wheels start to come off? And he just delivers that ball, and then I think 2 plays later is when he hits the touchdown play to Traylon Gray. So that sequence right there, that's a game-changing sequence of you make the throw across the middle and then you go deep.
Should have
Also,
ended
there's
the game.
yeah, should have ended the game. But also there's another throw that was an incompletion, the one earlier in the game to Traylon, which I thought was a really good throw. I think
Really
I
nice throw.
texted you about that. Like really good throw, and probably should have had that one too. But like there's going to be a little bit of chatter now, I think, heading into Cincinnati, heading into a bye week with the way Nico played because he played really well. And no, this is no knock on Garrett. I think they're different quarterbacks in general, but there were some throws tonight that I'm not sure we've seen Garrett complete on a consistent basis. Like that fourth down throw to Hudson Clement in the end zone, I'm not sure Garrett Green makes that throw or really ever has made that throw. And I'm not trying to discount anything he's done, but I'm just saying it was refreshing and it was different. And I think that's what you get when you have a new guy under center. And obviously that's the thing that Garrett struggled the most with this year is that short and intermediate passing. But Nico really seemed to have that just cooking tonight. He seemed to find his groove early. He seemed to continue it. And I was also really impressed with the play calling. I think they kept
Me
him in
too.
comfortable situations. It seemed like they were letting their players on the outside make plays rather than force Nico to make plays, and I thought that was really smart of them. There was a lot of passes that were, it seemed like within the first 4-ish yards of the line of scrimmage that were just easy dump offs for Nico, easy slants, like just easy passes for him to complete. And that's a credit to play calling. But switching the sides of the ball to the defense, like that defensive line continues to play well. I will say that. And I will say there were also times in the middle of that game where the secondary was able to kind of force Fafita to do things with the ball, like just throw it away, kind of scramble out. But I mean, the 2 backwards passes to McMillan were almost disastrous each time for West Virginia. The first time it went for the trick play where it seems like you have it bottled up. He runs halfway across the field and throws it to Fafita. The second time it should have been a wide open touchdown and Fafita just holds on to it. But I mean, they score either way eventually. So, I mean, you got to be impressed with Nico. The defense, as you said, is what it is. But I think that there's a lot of confidence that you can take heading into the last month of the season if you're West Virginia.
Yeah, I'm not willing to say there's a controversy. I know that fans are going to say that because Nico played well. I think that this team still operates best offensively with Garrett Green in there. Obviously, Garrett's got to play better. He hasn't played but he played 2 really good defenses. We all saw how Nico looked against Kansas State last week too. So
Yep.
I think that some of that played a role in this, but I'm not trying to take anything away from Nico. I think he's played well. I think that I am high on his future. I think that he has a chance to be a really good player here, and he's continued to play well when called upon. Outside of that Kansas State game, which there were some extenuating circumstances with there, he didn't practice well, that kind of thing. He's played pretty well. He's done what he's been asked to do, and this game I really felt like he made plays. I felt like that a little bit at Oklahoma State, but this game he had the reins to himself and he made plays. And you mentioned play calling. That's something I highlighted as well in some of my post-game stuff. I thought that Neal called a really good game in this one. Really hit him with some plays that, was more aggressive than he's been at times as well. Even that last drive, threw it on first down. That's kind of what they should have done against Pitt. In those situations this year, they have not done stuff like that.
It was a little bit of a redemption drive, I would say, that final drive of
Yeah.
Let's see where they've grown from that Pitt game.
Yeah, I thought that they called that really well. The third down throw. I didn't know if that was going to go at first when it was first developing. I was like, yep, there it is. So that was a good throw. I liked what they did. They got the tight end involved. They got some quick, like you said, easy throws across the middle. Took a couple shots, and they were there. Every time they did it. So a lot of encouraging things offensively. You look back at some of their drives. Some people are going to say, they got conservative at times. Well, really, penalties derailed some of their drives.
The offensive line, man, they for the first time all year, I feel like they struggled. I think that penalties were a factor against them, but also I think when Arizona kind of got back in the game because they were shutting West Virginia down on offense, it was because they were getting after that Mountaineer offensive line.
Yeah, they a different quarterback, so they got a couple false starts and a couple one of those holding penalties was tacky against Cole Taylor. But overall, I thought that that really kind of derailed them a little bit, but they were in complete control of this game. I think we're having really an entirely different conversation right now. If that game finishes the way you would expect it to finish, it's 31-13 with 13 and change left. The game should be over at that point, and Arizona rallied. And once again, you walk away. They won the game. You're happy they won the game. You're feeling good about that, but it didn't have to be that stressful. It did not, and I think that credit Arizona. There were a couple times West Virginia could have got off the field and into that game on both of their drives, and just couldn't do it. So I think that some of that you credit Arizona. They might have figured some stuff out. They exploited West Virginia's weaknesses. Their wide receivers are really, really good. Got a 6'5" running around.
As good as it gets at this level.
You mentioned those two plays. That guy is so fast. You wouldn't expect him to be that fast at that size, but he's a special player, and I think that he made some plays. But you're still upset about the pass coverage. You're upset about some of the things that happened in the game defensively, but they did force a turnover.
Which played crucial. That was inside your red zone, right? That was inside your red zone. They were driving pretty easily to start the game, and then boom, you're able to get a turnover, and then also
into 7 points.
How about this team on fourth down tonight? 4 of 4, and they got
3 touchdowns
on fourth down, including a fake field goal. Man, what? Holy cow!
Who had Leighton Bechtel as the first touchdown scorer in this game? If you had that, you probably made quite a bit of money tonight, I would imagine.
I bet he was. If there's an option for first touchdown score for college, I bet he wasn't even an option.
No way. There's no chance.
No chance.
But I think that special teams was really, really good tonight. I'm glad that we kind of segued there. It gets forgotten a lot when they play well. Special teams is always one of those areas where no one really wants to talk about it when things are going well, but when it's not going well, it's the number one thing on the top of people's mind. But they played really well tonight. I didn't even notice this, but Neil said their long snapper was out. Brinkman didn't play. I never noticed it during the game. Of course, I was watching it from TV viewpoint, but that pretty good game from us snapping. I didn't notice anything there, and that's replacing some pretty big shoes. Ollie punted the ball well. Zay Jennings had an absolute crushing hit, which ended up being pretty good for West Virginia. Eventually, pinning them
Michael
back.
Hayes made a long kick of 45.
Yeah, Michael Hayes made a kick. They tackled well for the most part. I thought that special teams was a big part of this game and really kind of forgotten in a sense, but West Virginia played really well there, which is good to see because at times that's been a roller coaster too.
I also think that Neil has hit in the last couple of weeks of how well they played on special teams, and fans have kind of been like, oh, you lost the game. And so it's kind of good to see that something that they've been working on. It's been a point of emphasis for a good while now. It seems like they've finally started to figure it out across the board. And so I think that's a positive for this team. But yeah, Zay Jennings, that was a big hit. Ollie Straw punted the ball really well all day. I think you could see just based off the Arizona punter and Ollie Straw, there was a significant difference in how those two were punting the ball. And then Michael Hayes, he made a kick from 45, and then they executed the fake to perfection. There's not much more you can ask for from that unit. And so the best part about that unit is when not much gets talked about them because they're just doing their jobs, but they did their jobs and then some tonight.
Yeah, big picture now. Let's look at this thing. 4-4. Heading into a bye week. Neil Brown talked about emptying the tank. You get a chance to get healthy. West Virginia desperately needs this bye week. We talked about that the first time. Forget about that. This thing's a whole different level of all the players that are banged up and have missed time or got hurt in this game. Several guys left in this game. So Monday we'll have our press conference with Neil Brown, so be able to get into some updates on that, see where guys are at. But 4-4, the teams that are left, we all know them by now: Cincinnati, UCF, Baylor, and at Texas Tech. All winnable games, all losable games. I think that's where we're at with West Virginia. Really, I know some people have their mind made up on the season already, whether that's fair or not, with how they've performed against the ranked teams and better teams on the schedule. But I don't care who you beat. If you finish 8-4, if this team can turn this thing around and finish 8-4, 7-5, even 7-5 at this point, I think most people would take. But especially 8-4, I think you're pretty excited about that overall. Now, are you excited about how things played out and missing opportunities? No, but 8-4 matters if they can get there, and I think that's going to be the rallying point, I guess, the thing that they're really focused on trying to do down the stretch, because
I mean, if you go 8-4, that's five straight to end the year, and then if you get a bowl game, that's 6 straight possibly. Like, that's a lot of wins.
That's a lot of wins, and in the end, yes, the ranked issue is an issue. It's going to need to be addressed. You can't continue to lose these type of games, but there is something to be said too with taking care of teams you're supposed to beat, and West Virginia's done that for the most part this year. The only example of a game that they let get away from them, obviously, I don't want to talk about it, but we all know what happened at Acrisure Stadium. But the other 3 teams, I think, are just better. They were better than West Virginia in those games. Now, is that a bigger issue, a bigger talking point? Yeah, we can discuss that. But they're beating the teams they should beat. They destroyed Oklahoma State on the road. Had a chance
Oklahoma State is on the struggle bus.
Had a chance to destroy Arizona in this game before you give it up a little bit. But as long as you're, winning those type of games where you're supposed to win, you're doing enough. But is enough good enough? I don't know. I think that's a bigger question we can have later, more of a grander conversation, if you will. But for this game, they got it done, 4-4. It sure beats 3-5 any way you slice it. It's not where anybody wanted to be. We all understand that. But you got to go one game at a time. And West Virginia found a way to win this game with me and you both not counting on them winning. And I think a lot of other people out there were not sure how this team would respond. So I do think you got to tip your cap a little bit to Neil Brown for getting this team ready to play and now winning 2 consecutive Big 12 road games.
Quick question on the big picture thing, Keenan. If I had told you in August that West Virginia goes on the road and beats Oklahoma State and Arizona, what would your prediction of their record be right now? If I told you they get both of those games? Because I think when we were talking about it earlier, those were the 2 games that we had circled. Like, oh, those are tough trips. Oh, those are good teams.
Yeah, it's crazy how football plays out, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Especially Oklahoma State, man. That's the one I can't figure out. I just cannot figure. I mean, Arizona, I think
so quick.
I think I picked West Virginia to win this game originally. So, but I definitely did not pick Oklahoma State. And Kansas State continues to play well. Iowa State.
I think the losses are the 4 losses for the Mountaineers. I think they're combined 28-1 or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they're good teams, obviously. But as we've talked about, this goes back to the crux of the frustration. You're not beating any of these good teams, and you can't continue to use that excuse, because if you continue to say you can't beat good teams, when are you ever going to become a good team? And that's the argument. It's done. I mean, that's kind of where.
I mean, that's the $1 million question for what happens.
And I think the general concern is, if you're not going to do it this year with all the returning starters, when are you going to do it? Mm-hmm. And I think it's a fair question. I mean, the one thing I will say about Neil is he's always been fair and always been understanding of criticism about on the field things, and I think that's, he's always been open to it and has embraced it when they've failed. And I think that he understands that. Everyone in that building understands that. And that's the frustration. And you hate it to be kind of like an us versus the world mentality type situation. But, he mentioned in his post game, there was a lot of negativity, a lot of frustration, that kind of thing around the program. And, yes, there was, but also it's fair to say that a lot of that's been earned by falling on your face in those type of situations. But hey, they won tonight. Let's not make this negative. Let's it's late. This is a very late podcast that we're taping right now. So West Virginia did get a win, and really that's all that matters. 4-4 should be a smooth sailing type of bye week, I would expect. Not rough waters. We'll see what Neil has to say Monday, but on to the next one. We'll be traveling to Cincinnati here soon.
On to the next one, and then as far as West Virginia goes, on to basketball season, because that is coming in. We're a week away. So with that, we are going to get out of here. It is a late one. We have some sleep to get, some work to do. So I'm Wesley Shoemaker, joined by Keenan Cummings. If you made it this far, we do appreciate you listening. Mountaineers win 31-26, and this is the WVSports.com podcast.